All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. It's the Four Horsemen in studio.
Let's go.
Sean McCormick
Producer
in the
Sean
flesh.
in the
Producer
flesh.
Sean. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, it's good to be here. It's nice to be in the bright lights and not in the dark room back there.
You're bringing in some good energy here, I feel.
Hey, I'm trying. You told me bring the energy, bring the focus, bring the teamwork. I'll bring at least one of
Energy,
those
focus, teamwork, and that's what Bobby Conway of Bet99 brings to the studio every time he's in.
I try to follow the lead of you, Albert, and yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's nice to be
thank
back from the beautiful confines of Montreal.
Justin Pooney, you've been here since the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm He's here been every holding it day. down
Yeah,
all
look
week.
at your jacket. You look good today. Very comfortable. You almost got like a Mr. Rogers 2.0 going on. Yeah?
I
All
like
right.
it. Okay.
Okay. UFC
Thanks.
287, Adesanya, Pereira 2. This is the fourth fight
Yes.
between these two guys. Pereira, the champion, winning the last fight. But Adesanya, the favorite at minus 150 at Bet99. Pereira, even money. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What does Adesanya have to do to beat this guy finally?
He's got to avoid, the big knockout, which is what happened in the last fight. He was controlling that fight. He was up on the scorecard. He has the ability, better than maybe anyone else in UFC, to be able to pick apart an opponent through striking. And, he can stay out of range. He can pick you apart with kicks. And granted, Pereira can kick too. But, he has really good fight IQ in that manner. But if he gets up against the cage like he did and he gets caught, we all know that Alex Pereira can knock out anyone on this planet, and he did last time. And I think if he can learn anything, it's the idea that I got to get out of the pocket when I feel like I'm getting pressured by Pereira. And if he does that, I think he'll be fine. He's the better fighter.
Pereira, 4 UFC fights, Sean, 4 wins. Do you agree with the odds on this one?
I don't agree with the odds. I mean, it's a slight underdog for Pereira, but you're giving underdog money to Pereira, who's beat him 3 times. And even when in the last fight, it was razor close. Like the significant strike numbers were even. It was just that Adesanya had a bit more control time on the ground. So even though he was down 3-1 on the scorecards heading into the 5th, he did end up winning. I like Pereira in this fight to come out and get the win here. I think everything's just close. The power advantage, like you said, goes to Pereira. Pretty evenly matched. There's not going to be as much wrestling. I just think that for the money, I think I'll take Pereira to beat him for a 4th consecutive time.
I like Pereira too. I love a dog. I mean, Adesanya was pretty good on the ground against Pereira too. I wonder if he decides to go back there. For Adesanya, do you think at this moment, I know he's had some big fights, but is this the biggest fight of his career right now?
Absolutely. He's in that position now where before he was kind of like the Teflon Don, right? He was untouchable. He was Israel Adesanya. Now he's in that role where he even mentioned a couple days ago, he's in that underdog role. People don't believe in him now. Again, he might be playing the media a little bit, but also to beat somebody 4 straight times.
2 different
pretty
sports.
tough.
2 different sports,
Yeah.
albeit, but still.
There's got to be some sort of mental competitive edge there.
There has to, but also to beat somebody 4 straight times, Adesanya must have a decent sized book on Alex Pereira. He has to have studied that last fight and see what he did wrong. Watch out for the leg kicks, right? I just think Adesanya is such a cerebral guy, and I think he gets it done. I think he was up in the last fight. He got caught at the end. He's got to win this fight. I think this means a lot to him to reclaim his title, and I think he does that because
Let me pose this question. Is Adesanya an overrated middleweight? Is he in the likes of Silva, Weidman, Bisping, Rich Franklin?
Outside of the first one, yes. But I don't think anyone really touches what Silva did for the extended period of time that
Right.
he did outside of other guys, like in other divisions.
I'm just naming some of the
Yeah.
top middleweights to come before him.
Right, exactly. So I think you take Silva out of there. Yeah, I think he has. He's beat everyone in this division now except Pereira. And, finding an opponent for him was the difficult part. And basically, and he said it in the presser, and he's absolutely correct. Alex Pereira would be on an undercard right now if he didn't already beat Adesanya twice in kickboxing. That is a fact. Nobody comes in if Adesanya's not the champ is what I mean. If he's not the champ at the time and they couldn't find an opponent for him that can really test him, that he would still be fighting on undercards. He would not be the champion in the UFC right now. It takes a little bit more time than that. Not that he hasn't won all his fights, not that he hasn't been impressive. It just doesn't work that quickly usually. So, yeah, I think Adesanya, because of, look, it might not have been the greatest era in middleweight,
I think that's the
UFC.
only thing
Yeah,
that's against him.
But you can only fight who's in front of you, and he was dominant for an extended period of time. He tried to go up a weight class too against Blachowicz. He's tried to be great. He's challenged himself. This one comes down to, like you guys have been talking about, the mental aspect. Is this the guy that's just, someone he can't figure out. That it's a mental hurdle for him when he gets Pereira in front of him. He just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, to piggyback off to what like you're saying, like GSP said earlier this week, right? You can't really compare eras in mixed martial arts because you deal with who's put in front of you, right? So to compare him to those guys, like we're all gonna do it. We do it in every sport. It's just natural. And I agree with you too that I think he's not quite at the Silva level, but he could compete with those other guys. I mean, you've put him in front of Whitaker twice. He's beaten Whitaker twice. Vittori twice. Brunson, Jared Cannonier. The only guy in the top 5 that he hasn't beat is Dricus Du Plessis, who just got into the top 5. So,
but at the same time, then you got a 43-year-old Anderson Silva in there. You got a 42-year-old Romero in there.
yeah,
Sure.
So it balances out. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm looking at the previous guys to come before him, and yes, you can't compare eras, but you can make the case, I think, either way.
Again, it's kind of like, again, people say about Mike Tyson and boxing all the time. Well, it was the weakest the heavyweight division ever was. But again, 6 straight title defenses he had. I mean, that's something there, right? Like, he has dominated the middleweight division for years, and he finally got beat. And I think you have to, right behind Anderson Silva, he's probably the best middleweight of all time.
Yeah, and he did it with some style too.
Yeah.
He can.
He has
be
the charisma.
Boring at times because he can outpoint you, but he's at least some flair inside the octagon.
And he can sell fights as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, to the co-main event. Talk about a guy who can sell fights. Jorge Masvidal. You know, I love a home dog in Miami at the moment, plus 350. Gilbert Burns minus 450. Why is Burns such a big favorite here?
Wow. I mean, there's just a lot of paths to victory for Burns. I mean, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, world champion in a lot of grappling competitions, gold medalist. He's got that one-punch knockout power. He's got pretty decent cardio. So, like, there's a lot of paths to victory for Gilbert Burns. It's a little bit wide for my liking. Like, just as like I talked about in the last fight, I think it priced maybe incorrectly. I do see a lot more paths to victory for Burns than I do for Masvidal. And it's an interesting fight. I mean, we've talked about, Masvidal possibly retiring after this fight. You've talked about, like, can Burns hang with the big dogs? And Masvidal, like, I don't know, he might not be a big dog himself, but, like, this is a big time fight and a big time moment for Burns' career.
And for Masvidal as well, before this fight, he said, listen, I might pretty much be done if I lose this fight. And I like the fact that Masvidal put that out there. I think he's putting some accountability out there and on himself at home in Miami.
To push back on him, though, wouldn't you say, because he's talking about retirement, he's got 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door, and he's more susceptible to lose that way.
Yeah, I know. That's a good point. It can go that way too. But I also see a clear path to the title for him with his recent history or past history with Leon Edwards, right? He doesn't necessarily deserve a title shot, but because he can sell a fight, a type of Conor McGregor, he can talk up a fight, and he already has a history at Edwards. A win here could mean a title shot for Masvidal.
I think it's definitely... We've seen it before that if you can sell a fight that you sometimes get pushed up to the top. And
right? That's a perfect example.
Exactly. Yeah. And even with Covington, going up ahead of Bilal Muhammad, which is really
crazy.
Not fair, but it is what it is, because Leon Edwards against Bilal Muhammad probably doesn't sell as many pay-per-views as Colby Covington. So I think for Masvidal, what you might see for his career is kind of like what Diaz is right now, which is like bringing in a really good, like 3, 4, 5 spot guy and say, let's see you dominate someone who has the history that Jorge Masvidal does, and he can sell the fight.
I also think with Masvidal, as Sean mentioned, he's just not that good of a fighter. Ben Askren was how many years ago? Like 4 years ago?
I wouldn't say he's not that good of a fighter.
No,
he's had a long career.
So, like, to piggyback off that, and I'm going to piggyback a lot. I piggybacked on you, piggyback on you. I don't want to piggyback on you.
No.
So, like, his last few fights that he won, Nate Diaz, right? That was a cut stoppage. Nate Diaz was actually coming back, looking like Masvidal was a bit gassed, right? He beats
Ben Askren.
He beats Ben Askren in 8 seconds, and then he beats Darren Till by knockout. But Darren Till won the first round, right?
And now
outside of that,
away
like,
from the
Masvidal's
UFC,
lost a ton of fights. So, again, am I betting this? Probably not. If I was to bet a side, it would be Masvidal, but I'm just going to stay away. I'm staying away. I'm staying away. I see so many paths to victory for Burns, but
I do too.
I don't like it.
Yeah, you know what the concern is with Masvidal as well? 2 losses to Usman and long layoff. His last fight was against Colby in March 2022. Is that something we probably should consider with Masvidal, as a bit of rust, cage rust?
Yeah, I mean, he's also got other things going on with his life, with the fact that he's getting into it with Kevin Hall in the lobby at the fight. He's got charges against him for attacking Colby Covington. There might be other distractions.
And he runs his own promotion now.
Yeah,
too.
so
that's the thing. When there's too much going outside of the cage, outside of the fight world, then you see fighters kind of
one of those guys.
Conor
too,
McGregor, right? With the whiskey and
I was going to say, he's one of those guys too, from rags to riches. You know,
Yeah.
do you lose that hunger? I don't know.
I can't
He's talking
doubt it.
retirement. I don't know, man. I'm trying to talk you off at a home dog, but
I'm just worried that he's becoming that guy that can't get it done when it matters. You look at the two Usman fights; he lost both of them for the title. You go back to Strikeforce 2011. I know different Masvidal, but losing to Gilbert Melendez. Then he can't win a title fight, almost like a Uriah Faber type. But he has to get to that point once again. I think to actually prove that he can do
But
it.
you guys give him credit. He knows how to uses his charisma to keep putting himself in these
He's
positions.
an
right?
entertaining person.
He's a
man.
very entertaining person.
and
And
a great highlight reel.
absolutely. And I
Totally.
think that's what helps him keep on getting these co-main events and on these big time pay-per-views, because it's the character, game bred. That's what helps him out.
Okay, let's go around the table quickly. Burns or Masvidal?
Oh, I'm going. Oh, Burns, but I'm not betting it.
Burns for sure.
Burns wipes the floor with him.
Oh, it's Masvidal. This is like Thursday Night Football. You guys all pick the Broncos, and it's going to be the Colts. Okay, 1 minute left. The rest of the main card looks pretty good. Kevin Holland against Ponzinibbio seems like it has a chance of being fight of the night contender.
Yeah. So I looked at the undercard. I speaking of dogs, I like a lot of dogs
Of
on
course
this
you do.
undercard.
Yeah.
I like Rob Font against Yanez.
Yeah.
Yanez coming up in competition. You know, it's Rob Font's like a gatekeeper, but Rob Font puts out that volume, has that wrestling background. And then, you know, Kevin Holland likes to play with his food a little bit too much. So I don't know. I like Ponzinibbio there too. Sprinkle a little money on a couple of dogs. You know, you only need to come out once to come out ahead. Let's go.
Is there anything else you like on this card, Rob?
I like Holland too. His fight weeks are always interesting. As I said, he's already been into it with Masvidal in the lobby. I'm going to go with him for an exciting fight.
Kevin Holland.
Kevin, everyone, you guys are on the same. What's going on
Ponzinibbio.
here?
Ponzinibbio. I'm on Ponzinibbio.
Okay, I'm on Masvidal plus 450. That's the only bet you got to make. All right, thank you very much. Coming up next, NHL futures. What about the Leafs? Can they get past the first round? Your favorite question: who's going to be the goalie?
Yeah.
Come game one against the Lightning, Bob Conway. That coming up and more after the break.